So we are open to the next clean page in our math notebooks. We are ready for today's notes. So today, 5th grade, what we are doing is we are reviewing decimal word problems with division. So we're going to be working on 2 word problems in our notebooks today. So we're going to title today's notes, Decimal Word Problems Division, and we are writing today's date of 11/23/2020. Now, we're only going to do 2 in our notebooks, okay? I know that it can take a little while to get a word problem written down yourself and then solve it, so we're only doing 2 today, okay? Awesome. Thank you for letting me know that you are ready quietly. I appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So then next, what we are going to do is we will be labeling the practice sections because like I said, we have 2 word problems for practice today. Oh, I picked it. So practice section, we'll have 2 word problems we're writing down in our notebooks today. Is this going to be yes. And I know that word problems can take us a while to write down, so that's why we're only doing 2. Yes. Definitely, go right ahead. All right, are we ready to write down the first word problem? Okay, I'll give you another moment. Awesome, thank you. Now are we ready? Okay, so remember, word problems, I know, they take more time to write down than a normal problem, but that's why we're only doing 2. So our first one is here, and I'm going to read it out loud. It's a word problem. It takes longer to write down than a regular problem. So, yep, number 1. Aaron has 3 slabs of beeswax. Wax that you can collect from bees. The first slab weighs 8 2/10 pounds. So if you look at 8.2, that's an LB. That is not a 1, that's an L for pound. 8.2 pounds. The second weighs 8.1 pound, and the third weighs 8.9 pounds. If Aaron melts all 3 slabs and uses them to make 36 candles, how much will each candle weigh? Now, I'm aware that this is a similar problem to one in your workbook, but we are still writing it down in our notes today. Yes? Yeah. That's how a lot of people spell Aaron. Yeah, there's different ways to spell Aaron. Kind of like how there's different ways to spell Jordan. Yeah. So, Aaron has 3 slabs of beeswax. The first slab weighs 8.2 pounds, or 8 2/10 pounds. And remember, pound is LB, so behind each number there's an LB, it's not a 1. The second weighs 8.1, or 8 1/10 pounds. And the third weighs 8.9, or 8 9/10 pounds. If Aaron melts all 3 slabs and uses them to make 36 candles, how much will each candle weigh? So once you're done writing that down, put a thumbs up on your desk for me. And use the lines in your notebook like I did. If you're going off of the lines, you're going to take up a lot more room than you need to. And you won't have enough room to solve. weighs 8 and 2/10 pounds. The second weighs 8 and 1/10 pounds. And the third weighs 8 and 9/10 pounds. Aaron melts all 3 slabs and uses them to make 36 candles. How much will each candle weigh? Is there anyone still copying this down? Okay, I'll give you another moment. Any? Quickly, but I start down the bottom one down. Yes. Nope, during language arts. All right. So let's look at this problem together. I'm going to read it out loud again. I want you to follow along. And as I'm reading the problem, think about what are the important pieces of information in the word problem. So it says Aaron has 3 slabs of beeswax. The first slab weighs 8 and 2/10 pounds. The second weighs 8 and 1/10 pounds. And the third weighs 8 and 9/10 pounds. If Aaron melts all 3 slabs and uses them to make 36 candles, how much will each candle weigh? Who can tell me one important piece of information in the word problem? What's one of the important pieces of information? What's one of them? Allison? Yeah, so the first slab weighs 8 and 2/10 pounds. What's another piece of important information? Drew? You're not rounding, you're right. It didn't say about how much, it just says how much. Nice. What else is another piece of information? Layla? Or 8 and 1/10 pound for the second slab. Yes. What's another piece of important information? Addie? He wants to know how much each candle will weigh. What's another important piece of information here? Mackenzie? He wants to make 36 candles. And there's one more important piece of information. What is it, Michael?
There's 8.9,
Exactly. The first slab is 8.2 pounds, second 8.1 pound, third 8.9 pounds. Aaron wants to melt them all together and use them to make 36 candles, and we're trying to find out how much each candle will weigh. So, is this just a one-step problem, 5th grade? Now, I want you to think to yourself first, what do we need to do in order to get to the answer? So what are the steps we need to take in order to get to the answer, since it's not a one-step problem? I want you to turn and share those steps with the person next to you. What do you need to do? So, Philip, pull up your mask and you and Jack can talk. What are the steps that you need to take? that problem. Who can tell me what is the first step in this problem? What is the first step, Will? We need to add up the weight of all the slabs. So we need to add up 8 and 2/10, 8 and 1/10, and 8 and 9/10. So let's say we add all three of them up and we get that total, the total weight. Then what do we do? What is our second and final step? What's our second and final step? Elena? Then we will divide the total weight by 36. Nice work. I want you to go ahead and do just that. Go ahead and solve our problem. I know you're finished when you are giving me a thumbs up. So think about what needs to line up when you're adding decimal numbers. Don't forget about that. Think about what needs to line up when you add decimal numbers. few people finishing up the problem. We're going to remember to do that. Ready to rock. All right, 5th grade. Let's look at this together. I saw a lot of really good answers as I was going around. I'll use purple. Okay, so if you are reading or doing something else since you finished your problem number 1, go ahead and set that to the side, please, because we're going to look at this together. So Philip, close up your book, please. Awesome. So we agreed that the first step was to add up the 3 different slabs, correct? All right, so I saw a lot of people, you added all 3 at the same time, and you made sure that your decimals were lined up. So our first slab weighs 8 2/10. Our second slab weighs 8 1/10. And the third weighs 8 9/10. So I made sure all my decimals line up, and now I can add. So 9 plus 2 plus 1 equals what, 5th grade? 12. So I'll carry the 1, bring down the 2. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 1 equals what? 25. And then since we're adding, my decimal comes straight down. 25 2/10. How many of you got that as the total of all 3 slabs together? Awesome. So then we have the total weight of all 3 of the beeswax slabs together. Now we need to take this weight and we're dividing it up into 36 candles. We're using it to make 36 candles. So then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take my 25.2 and I'm going to divide it by 36. Now, 5th grade, since I have a whole number on the outside, do I need to move any decimals? No, I do not. So, can 36 go into 2? Can it go into 25? Can it go into 252? Yes. And I saw some people going off to the side and doing your work. to see how many times 36 can go into 252 without going over. Show me in your hands, how many times does 36 go into 252? It goes in 7 times. And I'm going to show the work over here. So if I take 36 times 7, what is 7 times 6, 5th grade? It is 42. Carry the 4. Bring down the 2. What is 7 times 3? 21 plus 4 is 25. 252? 252. So I'll put my 7 above the 2. Subtract 252 from 252. I get 0. And then you should have made sure your decimal point came right up. And since my decimal's in front of the 7, what do I need to add before the decimal? I need a 0. And is that my answer?
Unit.
It is a word problem. You should have a unit. What is my unit?
Pounds per candle.
Ah, I like that one. If you said weight, that is not specific enough. You're right, we're talking about weight, but what kind of weight? Are we talking about ounces? Are we talking about grams? Are we talking about pounds? In this problem, we are talking about pounds because each of the slabs, they were talking about pounds. So each candle will weigh 7/10 pounds. You could have put just LB or 7/10 of a pound. Yes. And then I'm going to circle it. Yes. Now I liked that Will said each candle will weigh 7/10 of a pound or 7/10 of a pound per candle. That would also work. How many of you got 7/10 of a pound as your final answer? Awesome. Does anyone have questions on number 1? You made a silly mistake? That happens. That happens. Okay. Then we have one more. And so with this next one, as soon as you write it down, then you can solve it. Okay? I don't think, let's see. It doesn't have, it's similar to number 1. Okay? It's similar to number 1, a little different, but similar. So as soon as you write it down, you can solve it. Capiche? Okay, here it is. All right, so get started with writing it down. Number 2, Sue made chicken noodle soup by combining an 18.6 ounce can of Campbell's soup with a full can of water. How many of you have made soup that way, like a soup out of a can? You pour what's in the can, and then you fill the can up with water and pour that in too. How many of you have done that? Yeah, so that's what Sue's doing. So she's poured, the soup into a bowl to cook it, and she filled up the can with water and poured that into the bowl too. If Sue wants to divide the soup, Jack P, get writing, please. If Sue wants to divide the soup into 10-ounce bowls, how many bowls can she fill, and how much will be left over? So remember, she's not just putting the contents of the can into her soup. She's then also filling the same can up with water. So she's combining those two together. Then she's dividing that into 10-ounce bowls. So if she does that, how many bowls will she be able to fill, and how much of the soup will be left over?
Full cup or full can.
So she's taking the same can that had the soup in it. If you've gotten Campbell's soup, you pop it open, and the soup's in there, but then you need to also fill the can up with water, right, and pour that in too. That's what Sue's doing. She's using a can of Campbell's soup. So you pour the soup into a pan, and then you fill that same can up with water and pour that into the pan as well, and cook it that way. filling that with water and pouring that in this box.
And then they just make circles.
Guys, you should be at your desk and not touching. Open the door. Please stop acting like you don't see your classroom. Take a seat. So, what is that seat? Why aren't you at your desk? Ready to rock. All right, so if you are reading or doing something else because you finished the problem early and you were patiently waiting, I would like you to put that to the side. And we're going to look at this together. So, Elena, you should be in your seat, please. Thank you. All right, so 5th grade, let's look at this together. This was a little tricky, but I think a lot of you were starting to get the hang of it. Sue made chicken noodle soup by combining an 18.6 ounce can of Campbell's soup with a full can of water. So those of you who have made Campbell's, like chicken noodle soup or some kind of soup before, you know you open up that can, you pour the soup that's inside into a pot, then you have to go and fill that same can up with like water or milk and pour that into the pot as well. So that means when Sue was combining the chicken noodle soup and water, she was combining two 18.6 ounce cans of liquid, right? So first step needs to be to add 18.6 to itself or multiply it by 2. I'm just going to multiply it by 2. So 18.6 times 2. And if you haven't gotten to a certain point, you should be writing down what I write down. So you can add it, that's fine. 2 times 6 is 12. Carry the 1, bring down the 2. 2 times 8 is? Plus 1 is? 17. Carry the 1, bring down the 7. 2 times 1 is? Plus 1, 3. And then because they're multiplying, I look up top to see how many places in my decimal is. It's in once, so I go in once. So I got 37.2 ounces. How many of you got that when you either multiplied 18.6 by 2 or you added it to itself? Awesome. Richie, go ahead. So this is the total amount of soup I have, the total amount of ounces. Well, Sue wants to divide up the soup into 10-ounce bowls. So that means we need to see how many times 10 ounces goes into 37.2 ounces. We need to divide. So then I'm going to take 37.2 and divide it by 10. How many of you set up your problem the way that I did? Okay. So can 10 go into 3?
No.
Can it go into 37?
Yes.
Show me on your hand, how many times does it go into 37? It goes in 3 times. Awesome. So I'm going to put a 3 above the 7. 10 times 3 is 30. So I will subtract 30. Then 37 minus 30 is 7. Bring down my 2. How many times can 10 go into 72? Show me on your hands. It goes in 7 times. Awesome. So I'll put a 7 above the 2. 10 times 7 is 70. So I subtract 70. And I get 2. Now, do I have to stop here?
No.
What can I add here? A 0. We're all the way to the right of the decimal, so I can add a 0. Bring down my 0. 10 goes into 20 how many times, 5th grade? Show me on your hand. It goes in 2 times. Philip, put your book away. 2. 10 times 2 is 20, so I subtract 20. I get 0. My decimal goes straight up. So, when I look at this answer, I can answer both of the questions because they ask how many bowls can she fill and how much will be left over. Well, 5th grade, how many full bowls can Sue fill? 3. We have the whole number 3, so that means 10 ounces can go in 3 full times. She can fill 3 bowls. So my first answer is Sue can fill 3 bowls. And how much will be left over, 5th grade? Michael?
72 times.
And what's our unit with that?
Ounces.
Ounces. And 0.72, so 72 hundredths ounces will be left over. How many of you got an answer close to mine? How many of you got? Yeah, awesome. Elena, did you have a question?
Yeah. So I didn't do it the same way.
Yeah.
I put 37 and 2 10, and I myself how many times can 10 go to 37,
Mm-hmm.
and I got 3.
Okay, so then you need 3 full bowls.
Yeah.
Yep.
72.
Okay. Awesome. That's what you did too. Yes, then that would be 7. Well, no, then Elena, did you then say 7 and 2 tenths will be left over? Okay, so you want to make sure you're actually dividing so then you can say that 72 hundredths will be left over. Okay. Or did you say 72 hundredths? Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so 5th grade, I know that writing down word problems isn't a lot of fun, but how did you feel about getting the pieces of information out of the word problem that you needed? So I know that can be tricky, getting all those pieces of info out. 1 through 5, how do you feel when it comes to just solving a word problem? Not necessarily writing it down. That can be boring. I know that. How do you feel about solving them? 1 through 5, how do you feel? Okay, Frankie, how do you feel? Drew? All right. Jack, Al, how do you feel? Okay. Yosef, how do you feel? All right, hands down. you do not have any math homework tonight. When we get to this, it's usually like what do they call it? I call it word problem practice. They call it problem solving, I think. In your book, I don't usually like the word problems they give you. It's too much. And they give you unnecessary information that confuses you. So, you do not have math homework tonight.
If we would have had math homework, we would have had it 353?
Probably.
Told you!
Alright, I think so. So, ready to rock? Ready to rock? What I need from you is to close up your math, set it aside, and take a stretch break, please. Nice job today.